Guys, quick intro here before we get to the actual video with the Making Towns Classic 2019 predictions. So the video was a reshoot last night after a change to the card happened. I was not planning on a reshoot, but things happen. And when I was editing it last night, and well, not last night, when I was replaying it this morning before pushing the video public, I realized I said the wrong date throughout the prediction. So this is an update. Is every time I say May 4th, it's actually May 3rd. The Making Towns Classic takes place Friday, May 3rd in Chattanooga. So go ahead and just ignore my May 4th comments throughout this video and know that I meant to say May 3rd. I'm sorry about that. It was total screw up on my part, but don't want to have to reshoot the whole thing just for those little bits. So I'm throwing this in the beginning. It'll be in big bold letters in the description, as well as all the social media posts going with this. But without any further ado, let's jump in and get these predictions done. What's up, Divas Nation? I'm Gary Cook, and this is a Divas Dive. And today, we are talking Making Towns Classic 2019. Now, for those of you unfamiliar with what this is, it is a tournament being held in Chattanooga, May the 4th, which is right up the road from us. So we're going to be hanging out there live tweeting, taking pictures. So be sure to come by, hang out, watch some great wrestling, and say hi. And love to get to know those of you who watch the videos and hang out with us on Twitter, read the blog, and just have a good time enjoying some awesome wrestling, because there's a lot of great names on this card. So before we jump into that, be sure to hit the like button, smash on that subscribe button, so you stay tuned here for all of your women's wrestling news, rumors, and updates as they happen. So before we jump into this show, we do have a poll going up on Twitter to name our second show that will be coming out in May, as we have some interviews lined up with some amazing talent. We don't want to put that show under the Divas Dive YouTube series, as this tends to be where I rant, rave, and just give all my crazy ideas about the world of wrestling. And those videos are more to highlight how awesome and unbelievable those talents are that we're talking to. So I want to give it its own little corner, safe from my my opinions and thoughts being spewed out on a daily basis here on the Divas Dive. So be sure to go check our Twitter out. It should be pinned to the top, and you can vote there or toss out a suggestion of your own. And maybe you'll be part of what gets a name picked, or you'll suggest a name that we actually go with. Who knows? But go check it out. Do us that favor. So with that said, we are going to jump in to talking about this show. Now, there are 4 tournament matches and 1 match that is outside of the tournament that is happening that night. There was a card change which caused us to reshoot this whole video, as going from a one-on-one to a triple threat changes the dynamics of the entire thing, makes us have to reconsider how that's going to balance out and who potentially could be fighting who coming out of that. We don't have an official bracket, so we don't know what winner is fighting what winner. So let's lay the ground rules and go from there. we are working under the assumption that of the 4 matches, that it is the winner of the match above faces the winner of the match below them. And putting it into 2 sets. Winner of the 2 sets faces off in the middle, and they'll be crowned your Making Towns Classic champion of 2019. So, in the first set of brackets, going off of this assumption, is we have Sierra versus Chris Statlander, and then we have Nina Monet versus Alley Cat. On the other side of the brackets, we have Shazza McKenzie versus Savannah Stone. And then we have the triple threat match because Queen Bee Brooke couldn't make it. So it is going to be Ruthless Lala versus Reign Victoria versus Savannah Evans. And that is the other side. But before we jump into the tournament matches, let's talk the match that is not involved in the tournament. And get that one out of the way first, as I don't know where it's going to fall in the night, but we're going to start with that one so we can cover all of the tournament as its own little piece and wrap that up nicely to close the show out with. So in that other match, we have Station versus Asia Pereira. I am not familiar with Station, I don't believe. She doesn't look familiar, but she is masked, looks very luchadorish. But I can't place seeing any matches of hers. I have, on the other hand, seen a number of Asia Pereira matches, as I am an avid follower of Shine, and she is the Nova champion there. So I have seen her on a number of shows there, both winning and defending that title. So based on the fact of I don't know one and I know the other, we're going to go completely biased and just assume the person I know is going to win the match because I know them. What better reason is there? I know who they are, therefore they're going to win. Sound logic. But if you need more than just the fact that I picked them to assume that they're going to win the match, Asia Pereira has a bit of a story going into the show. At the last TWE show I was at, which was 2 shows ago now, I think there, she was facing Billy Starks. Great match. Highly recommend you check out both those women. There's a review on Divas Unleashed somewhere of that match. You can go read as well if you like, with pictures from our first on-site event the week before WrestleMania weekend. So that was a great show. But in that show, Asia Pereira was not happy that she was not amongst the tournament people in the brackets above. And she had more than a few unkind things to say about it. And the promoter for that show was in attendance, and Asia slapped him up pretty good, and it was in his face and more interested in making it known that she should be in the tournament than she was in wrestling the match. Match ended in double countouts, with both the girls leaving the ring then. So I feel like she has a bit of a chip on her shoulder and is out to prove that she should have been in the tournament and not just in a match on the card. And I feel like she is going to bring that chip to the chip right down to the ring with her, take it off her shoulder, and bash somebody's face in with it. So I am going to go with AJ Pereira on a warpath with something to prove, picking up a win over Station at Making Classics 2019. Making Towns Classic 2019. Then that is the only match listed that is not in the tournament. So that is going to let us dive into the tournament. That has a lot of great names, as we listed them off earlier. a lot of people I'm really excited to see. Some for the first time in person, others for a return visit to seeing them in person. So I am definitely looking forward to many of these matches. With that being said, I'm a little annoyed at the booker. He's making me make hard choices. I like the first round of tournaments to be easy. Take the person I don't like, place him against the person I do like. Let me pick my favorite and just move on through and save the hard choices for round 2 where I have to pick between favorites. This one is making me pick between favorites right off the bat in some of these cases. That's not fun. But we are not going to be one of those shows that goes with the everybody wins, so it's okay whoever wins. We're not going to do any of that. We're going to pick winners, and we're going to stand by them, and hopefully it pans out well, and we get a pretty good win-loss spread by the end of the night. So, the first match listed for round 1, Sierra versus Chris Statlander. Sierra, I have seen a handful of matches, mainly at First Wrestling and a few other YouTube videos and stuff like that on her. She does great heel work. She's always been great at getting the crowd against her, getting people riled up and invested in seeing her get her face punched in. And I have no doubt that will continue on May 4th. On the other side, you have Chris Statlander, who is the galaxy's greatest wrestler, everybody's favorite alien, and my favorite Martian. I don't know if technically, does Martian work? She's not technically from Mars. What planet is she from? We need to ask her that. Find out what planet she hails from. But Chris Statlander has been on a roll for all of 2019, from picking up some big wins over names like Allison Kay, to being the champion of WSU and their Spirit title, and getting that belt picked up for the relaunch of that entire promotion, and has been kind of the face of that, I would say, because I'm sure she's the biggest name they have on a consistent basis. I could be wrong. I don't watch a ton of WSU just because they don't live stream it, and I have enough things juggling that I can't catch every iPay-per-view they put out. And I don't like CZW enough to do the whole streaming service there, because I get my money's worth other places for a bit more all-women's content. But I love watching Chris Statlander, so I usually try to catch at least her matches when I can, when I see them crop up places. Sierra, though, is definitely an up-and-comer. I don't know her resume top to bottom, but I feel like a win over Chris Statlander would be a really nice notch in her belt, being that she's only 19. She is newer to the scene as a whole, and is just starting to kind of spread her wings and blossom into a very, very nasty young woman who is taking the world by storm and punching you in the face if you disagree with her taking over. So I feel like she will definitely be motivated to go for the win there, as she has a lot to prove, and being able to claim that she pinned Chris Statlander or make her tap would be a great resume builder for her. But excuse me, I don't know if that's going to be enough to knock Chris off her high horse. And not high horse in the bad way, like she's cocky and above everybody else, but she's just been riding high, as I said earlier. I mean, WrestleMania weekend, the Tuesday after, she debuted on SmackDown as part of the Brooklyn Bellas, got to challenge for the WWE Women's Tag Team titles, which is nothing to be laughed at. Getting to claim that she has been a challenger for a WWE belt puts you on a pretty exclusive level that not a lot of people can claim they have gotten to do. And I feel like Chris is still on the rise, and I don't know, even with how fiery Sierra is, if she is going to be the one to derail that upward trajectory of Chris Statlander. And I feel like Chris Statlander is a very strong bet to be the one who wins the whole thing here. the whole tournament, as she is a very, very strong competitor. And not to take anything away from Sierra, but I feel like if Sierra is here, Chris is just a few steps above her still at this point in their careers, and that little bit of extra ring savvy is going to pay off to allow Chris to pick up the win here and put Sierra hitting the bench for the night. Next up is Nia Monet versus Alley Cat. This one is interesting. I am a fan of both women. I was introduced to Nina Monet in WoW under her Sister Voodoo gimmick, which is awesome. That's where I've seen most of her work, so I've not seen a ton of work, as she has not made a ton of in-ring appearances there yet. On the other side is Alley Cat, who I have very much enjoyed. She's fun to watch. She is the trailblazing first feline fighter of the independent scene. And she is the type to scratch and claw her way to the top of any match she is in. As far as this match goes, the size and strength advantage definitely goes to Nina Monet. But Alley Cat does have some substantial tournament experience under her belt. I do believe she made it in the last time they had one of these. She did pretty well, I think I remember reading somewhere. But I do know she also won the American Joshi tournament that they had in 2018. So she has climbed her way through a tournament bracket before to come out on top. That does give her tournament experience that could give her that edge in knowing how to maneuver through these matches and ensure herself a spot in the final two. But that's not exactly going to be easy to do when you have Nina Monet on the other side of the ring. Nina Monet she's a very good Haas type wrestler. She's big. She hits you hard. She picks you up. She throws you around. And I feel like this match is going to come down to if Nina Monet can pretty much get a hold of Alley Cat and just wail on her and ground her and pound her until the cat is no more, she's going to pick up the win. But if Alley Cat can keep Nina Monet on her toes and force her to try to keep up with her, I think the advantage goes to Alley Cat in her bid to pick up the win here in this match. So this one, this is another hard one for me to call. I am going to say, I think Nina Monet will get the win here. I think size will play its advantage. I think Alley Cat will do her best. I think she's going to put on an amazing show. It should be one heck of a match to watch and enjoy. But I think the size and strength of Nina Monet is going to propel her to victory in this match. But that's not to say that Alley Cat can't scratch and claw and use some of that feline trickery to get herself a win in this one either, as I would not be shocked to see Alley Cat come out on top. But I'm going with my gut here and saying size and strength will probably win out in this match, and Nina Monet will pick up that win to push her into the next round, where in the imaginary brackets that we're working off of here to work through the event would put her going against Chris Statlander for a spot in the finals. And that is going to be a great match, I think. I think it will be another clash in styles, but I think Chris Statlander is going to be able to pull the victory out in that one. but it's going to be hard fought, and it's going to be hard for her to it's going to leave Chris in bad shape, I think, going into the final matchup, which I think could play a part in the ending of the tournament, because that's going to be 2 grueling matches that Chris is getting through on my little bracket sheet here that we have made up. And yeah, I feel like that is going, that could come into play in the final match, is just being tired after what I'm sure is going to be a hard-fought match with Sierra, and then what would, in the words of JR, be a slobber knocker of a fight with Nina Monet. But I feel like in the end of that one, Chris Statlander will prevail and advance from the first set of brackets as the woman in the final 2. So on the other side of the bracket, we have Shazza McKenzie versus Savannah Stone. This is another hard one for me to call, as both women are amazing in the ring. I've had the joy of seeing Shazza live at Shimmer 113, where she faced off against Su Yung in a very good match there. I've never seen Savannah Stone live. I have seen some of her matches on YouTube and other places, when just watching matches that have popped up over the years with clips and things like that. So I'm not super familiar with Savannah. I've gotten more familiar with Shazza as she has done kind of her US tour here of the States, and has really gotten onto my radar in a big fashion with all the shows she's been doing and all of the great reviews and great matches that she's been producing, and all the clips that have been coming out on Twitter and YouTube of those great matches. This one, I think, is going to be a really hard-fought match, but I am going to go with the hardcore and back Shazza, and think she will overcome Savannah Stone to make her way to the next round of that side of the brackets. But I think that is going to be a great match. That of this first round, that might be the match I'm most excited about, just because of what I've seen of Savannah and what I've seen of Shazza. I feel like their styles will mesh really well, and I feel like they'll be able to put together a really great show in the ring. Though Sierra and Chris Statlander is going to be another great match, but I feel like this match might be the match of the first round, just given the level of talent between both of them. So I'm really excited for that match. I feel like that could be a slept-on show stealer, just because they're not the biggest names on the card, but they are 2 of the most talented, and I feel like they could come out of nowhere and really put together a great show that could catch people off guard, and make for a really fun match. But I am going to follow the heart, go with the hardcore. The camera's over there. Go with the hardcore, and get the win to Shazza in the first match. The next one is the triple threat match. Now that adds just a whole layer of complexity to the tournament, and also a good way for somebody to cry foul if they get eliminated in the second round, because in order to get to the second round, they have to get through 2 women, where everybody else only had to get through 1. So this one has Ruthless Lala, who I am not familiar with at all. This will be my introduction to her completely, as I can't recall ever seeing any of her work. Reign Victoria, the name sounds familiar, but I can't quite place it as somebody I've seen much of. And then Savannah Evans is the last participant in it. And I have seen, I want to say 1, maybe 2 of her matches. just because the name rung a bell and I remembered seeing something of hers in the past. So just purely based on not knowing 2 out of 3, I am going to back Savannah Evans for the win. But I feel like going into the second fight, Savannah is going. There's a lot of Savannah. There's 2 Savannahs on this show. I feel like this Savannah is going to have her work cut out for her because a 3-way triple threat match is going to be so much more taxing than a one-on-one match is, just in theory. I mean, there's a chance it could be a walk in the park. She could come down there, win in no time, and be like, ha! Easiest thing I've ever done. But based on the pictures I have seen of her 2 competitors, and I mean, one of them calls themselves Ruthless, I don't feel like that's going to be a walk in the park. I feel like it's going to be a little bit harder. Maybe more like a stroll through hell might be a more apt term for how that match is going to go for her. So I feel like she is going to go into that second round a whole lot more drained than Shazza McKenzie's going to be. I feel like Savannah Stone will push Shazza to the limit, but I don't feel like that is going to be quite as taxing as being... What is that doing? She's playing with the printer again. The random side story before we get back to that. My cat's discovered the copier button on my printer, and her new favorite thing is to sit there and bop the copy button and make it push paper through that she can then play with. It is her new pastime. It's kind of adorable, but a little obnoxious when you're trying to record a video. So back on topic. I feel like Savannah Evans is going to be drained from being pushed to the limit by not 1, but 2 women. So I am feeling like that is going to play a factor going into this next match. And so for the second straight time, I'm going to follow my heart. I'm going to side with Hardcore and say Shazza will overcome not 1, but 2 Savannahs. 1 with an H and 1 without the H. So I feel like that, I feel like it's going to be a good match, but I feel like Savannah is going to be coming into it behind the 8 ball because she's going to have to get there via triple threat. And that's going to be an uphill battle that I think is going to take too much out of her for her to push through and get to that final match. So that will leave the final match as Chris Statlander versus Shazza McKenzie. This match is going... This is going to be a good match. I really like how the 2 of them stack up against each other. I really feel like they complement each other well. They have very similar styles of in-ring work. I think they're going to push each other to the limit, but I think Chris Statlander will come out on top. I think that's how I'm going to call this. I'm going to call Chris Statlander as the winner. I think she will be able to dig deep enough and overcome Shazza to become the tournament winner. I feel like Chris has not so much a lot to prove, but this has been her year so far, and she has been clawing and climbing her way up the mountain of women's wrestling. And I think she can see a lot of good things just over the horizon, and she's pushing towards that. And I think she has the oomph and the grit at this point to dig deep, find that surge of galactic energy, and that the galactic mojo will be enough to overcome the power of Shazza McKenzie and the hardcore movement. So I think it's going to come down to Shazza McKenzie, Chris Statlander. There will be a battle of intergalactic proportions between the 2 of them. And I think Chris Statlander will be the one to pick up the win. So those are my thoughts. Those are my opinions. On the post on the website that has this video, we'll post the whole first round card for you guys. Be sure to comment and let us know who you have winning these matches, who your pick is, why you agree or disagree with my picks, how you see this all shaking out. Would love to hear your thoughts, opinions, and cries of outrage of the picks I made here and my rationale behind them. I look forward to the show. It is May 4th. We'll have a link to the website for Making Towns. If you're watching on YouTube, that'll be down there below in the description. If you're on the website, up above, there'll be a link there. So give those a look. If you're in the area, come down, check it out. And be sure to swing by and say hi to me. I'll be there. Just look for the Demon Bunny hat, because that will definitely be on. And probably a wrestling shirt as well. I don't know what one yet, but when we start live tweeting our travels up to Chattanooga, you'll all know then. So I look forward to seeing you all May 4th. And I will see you all back here for the next Divas Dive that we do. Until then, keep talking women's wrestling, keep enjoying it, and have a great night.